And I probably tag her.
Yeah. On the other side of that glass. Come here some more, Lou. They bragging about who got the most time. On the other side of that glass. You don't understand. Jailhouse packed, they got inmates sleeping in the gym. All set the court date, a year straight down, wanna free them. If I can send a hot plate, no delay, I'ma go and see them. Devils in the sky, take more than eyes just for you to see them. Treasure hunt with old school, every time we talking, dropping gems. Seem cool in the movie, real life ain't nothing like the films. Ever since when they broke them, lost weight, the stress made them slim. I stacked against him against the system, future looking grim. Newborn son, he ain't even seen him take his first steps yet. Abandoned by day ones, hurt his heart to accept it. Spirits in his eyes, caught him by surprise, never did expect it. To keep the lawyer paid, had to empty stash and sell the SS. Take a fingerprint, take a picture, dress out, sale. 23 and one phone call, he ain't got a bun set. That's not food, that's slop, and you eat it when you dump it. Feeding fire, saw you smell all day, trapped you in a phone fest. Camera caught the last time you seen the sunrise or a sunset. Ask yourself, who can you count on, man in the complex? Sell, make bail, never know what can come next. Dirty gray clothes, man, the crossman on the tail, jaw dumb fresh. Pot full of hard legs, everybody talk, it's a contest. 3 fights, 1 murder, lockdown, ain't even lunch yet. You are a fugitive, caught out a bounty hunter. Behind that water bars, you just another number. They bragging about who got the most time. Break it down if you ain't got a strong mind. Gotta sleep with one eye open. A lot of stress, it get real, ain't no joking. On the other side of that glass. On the other side of that glass. On the other side of that. On the other side of that glass. If you help or being helped. On the other side of that glass. You trying to balance your bills. You put them bread to the side. Your baby girl on time. Over your job got you tired. There ain't young for the court, they miss work. Just to be there. Supporting your daughter to make sure the judge can see that somebody cared. You gotta pick up your grandson from daycare after he talked to the lawyer. He say he missing his mama. Explain to him why he ain't saw her. 9 years later, he 12 years old. She's still on the inside. He hurt on the inside. Tell to the streets, the surplus popped out. 15, he got a strap. 16, he in the trap. 18, he running routes. 21, he did a stab. One night shooting the dice. Blessing that he made it out. Case ain't the same for the guy. Grandson open no fire. Couple shot went through the house. Hit a little girl standing by. Planning in y'all go the street. Incoming call while you out of your sleep. First words out of his mouth. Granddad, remember that dream from the most high that you told me that you seen. Sorry to say it came true. This ain't get caught with the dope. Lovers just strike through the roof. Ready to die from a stroke. They bragging about who got the most time. Break it down if you ain't got a strong mind. Gotta sleep with one eye open. And all the stress, he get real. Ain't no joking. On the other side of that glass. On the other side of that glass. On the other side of that. On the other side of that glass. On the other side of that glass. If you help or being helped. On the other side of that glass. Matthew 25. Behind that wall. On the other side of that glass. Gotta sleep with one eye open. On the other side. When you tryna balance the bill, you still show love to the one that doing time. On the other side. On the other side.
All right, shalom, shalom. Peace and blessing to the chosen. All praise to the Most High, the creator of the heavens, the earth, the seeds and everything that's in them, the Father of lights, the Ancient of Days. Peace and blessing to all the disciples of truth, everybody who tuning in or will tune in, those who've been tuning in, or those who are new subscribers. Peace and blessing to you and your household. Anybody who's striving for, the righteousness, we battling ourselves throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year, throughout life. More power to you. Stay encouraged. Continue to endure. If we fall, let us repent, get back up, and go at it harder than we did before we failed. Let's store up treasures of righteousness with the Most High, so that at the end, as we give account for all our works, we got a better profile, a better file for the Most High to render us judgment. I prayerfully that we be accepted into the kingdom, the New Jerusalem. All right. Today's message, though, saints, as you see the title, Remember the Prisoners. All right, and this is inspired by a conversation that I have with a brother of mine who he's in prison. And understand that likewise is many other people who are in prison. And in addition to that, you have some who would say, well, those people who are in prison, those who are in jail, they can't be used by the Most High. The Most High don't care about them. And then in other cases, just for us to remember, not to neglect those who are in jail, not to neglect those who are in prison, who are in captivity, who cannot move freely the same way that we are. So within that conversation that I had with the brother, he told me, he said he saw a brother post some pictures, and the brother was at work. He had the vest on, like when you're working in the warehouse or these other establishments. He say the brother posted pictures, said just another day in captivity. And he said it rubbed him wrong because he like, man, I get it. We in captivity in some form or fashion because, we in this particular land. We don't rule and run the things as we used to in the ancient times. But he like, man, you can get up and go to work, go, see your family. You can travel, drive. You got a job. You know what I mean? Whereas he's in a cell. He's in prison. He's in jail. Got to get up at a certain time to come up out of the cells. And, they got to take a bath at a certain time. It's the risk of gang wars and gang fights. You know what I'm saying? You got cellmates. You don't know what type of spirit this person and what type of mindset they have. You might, your cellie or cellmate might get out of jail, and then you get a new cellie who this person might be a psychopath. You know what I mean? Sleeping with one eye open, just like what the song was that was played, Other Side of Their Glass. So today's message, we want to talk about that. We want to go into that a little more. And to see that, it's not that these people in jail, like, they still souls. The Most High still care about the prisoner. Some of us have been in prison. Some of the people, or many of the people who are in prison is because they were misguided. They didn't have somebody to tell them, like, hey, be careful how you move. A lot of the people that's in prison, they are in jail from innocence. We see the stories coming out every year. This man served 25 years in prison. He get out and they give him $1 million. Like, that time can't be replaced. 25 years. Because they found him innocent after 25 years. All right, but that'll never be replaced. The time and the opportunities that person missed out on. Then what's going on inside of the jail, inside of these prison houses. Like I said, the gang wars. You know what I mean? The different horrible things, like the food that's even being given to the inmates. The jail here in Memphis, 201 Poplar, was so packed that they didn't have cells to put men in. They had to have the people in the gym sleeping on mats in the jail cell. All right, so the message and the goal is to, the call to action is for us to remember the people that are in prison. Let us not forget about the prisoners, man. They still need love. And the Most High can use the prisoners while they in jail. Some of them in jail for that reason. All right, but let's open up with Revelation, though. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. What does the book say about it? What does the Most High say about prisoners? Does these prisoners matter? All praise to the Most High. Smash the like button. I'm still in Facebook jail. So those who usually tune in on the Sabbaths for the message, if you can get on, let them know, we live over YouTube. But we start with Revelation 13, verse 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised of all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." So this is the authority that this adversary have. Now pay attention to this. He said that everybody, the people that wouldn't worship the image of the beast, he had the power and authority to put those people to death. Verse 16 says, "And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." Now we're going here because in verse 16 it said this same beast that got this authority to put people to death who won't worship the image of the beast, he didn't leave out the prisoners. He said he caused them all, both poor, with small and great, rich and poor. And then he goes further to say free and bond. So as we talking about this system changing and what's going to happen and how it's happening right now, it said the people that's in jail going to be affected by this thing. He didn't say, well, they in jail, so I'm not going to worry about their souls or their souls. He said, yeah, I'm going to cause the ones that's in bonds, that's in prison, that's held captive. They're going to have to witness and go through that prophecy. So if the adversary got a mind for him, he still realized that these souls matter. Remember the prisoners. Let's jump back to Revelation chapter 2. All right, and it's important why. We're finna get it from here. Don't forget what the Messiah said. Revelation chapter 2. Mashka, Shabbat Shalom. Everybody else who tuning in, I can't see y'all's posts. Currently y'all comments, but I'll go back through it after the message and as much as I can. But Revelation chapter 2, verse 8. It says, "And unto the angel of the church of Smyrna write, these things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. I know thou works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." All right, so we understand that from this standpoint, even as if we stand for truth, you know what I mean, and it's dwindling down more and more as the day go by. And it's a constant battle as far as being able to speak truth and talk about the upright thing. I just had a video removed last Sabbath for speaking truth. They said that I violated, the violation was medical misinformation. All right, so YouTube is filtering and guiding on the things that you can speak on. All right, so that's revoking the right, because the amendments say freedom of speech. I can't speak about those things, but yet you got the transgenders able to do everything that they want to do. They getting and given rights as of right now. All right, but the book telling us, the Messiah telling us, he said, listen, some of us going to be cast into prison by the devil. All right, so understand that we'll have some of us going to go into their jail cell. Some of us will be in their prison yard. We always talk about or made mention of through the time the quarantine camps. That's another form of imprisonment. All right, so if you were in jail, remember that. What if it was you that's in that prison system? What if it was you? Would you want somebody to come visit you? The law, it tells us, love thy neighbor as thyself. Love your neighbor as yourself. So put yourself in the mindset to say, man, what if I had been taken away from my family for a mistake or a choice that I made that caused me to be in this prison cell for such a long time or a short amount of time? We got juveniles. We got young children going to prison too, jails. We got to understand it and remember that these people still matter to the Most High. All right, let's go to Luke chapter 3. Luke chapter 3. Remember the prisoners. The Most High would have allowed that, or, turned the enemy's plan around so that he can get his word in there. And that's another thing too. You got brothers in jail or in prison who know the truth. This was another part of the conversation the brother said. He like, man, I don't know how it feels to congregate and celebrate Passover. I don't know how it feels to celebrate first fruits out there on the town. Because he got the truth while he was in prison. Now understand it, mark that. The Most High sending the word into the jail to where it's getting around to everybody. Even the prisoners who segregated from society. He gonna be glorified. The Most High gonna get his word out to everybody, and that goes even further to say that on the day of judgment, won't nobody have an excuse to say, well, we didn't know about the fact that we were supposed to keep the commandments and the faith in the Messiah. Be able to put up, well, how come my son right here who was in jail knew to do it? And to the best of his ability in the prison, he did that or she did that. We're gonna be without excuse. All right, Luke chapter 3 though. Let's get and see, because as I mentioned earlier, some people feel like, some of us have our nose in the air and say, well, I don't want to deal with no prisoner. They haven't examined the matter at all. But because they in prison, well, the Most High can't use them or he ain't using them, or that's just complete judgment. They in jail because they wicked. That's what some people say. All right, well, let's see what the book say about these righteous vessels who the Most High used. Luke chapter 3, verse 6, where we starting at. It says, and all flesh shall see the salvation of the Most High. Then said he to the multitude that came forth to be baptized of him, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come. So he's talking about John the Baptist in the wilderness, and the people came out to be baptized. Side note, or mark this verse, as he telling them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come. But prior to that, they came forth to be baptized. I'm showing you that when we get baptized, baptism, understand, like that's a part of a brother or a sister choosing to escape the destruction. But continuing on, bring forth therefore fruits worthy of repentance, and begin not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you, that the Most High is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Every tree, therefore, which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. And the people asked him, saying, what shall we do then? He answered and saith unto them, he that have two coats, let him impart to him that have none. And he that have meat, let him do likewise. So they asked, okay, well, what should we do to, purify ourselves, sanctify ourselves then? We said, well, if you got more than enough, then share that. All right, and even we got to keep that in mind. We are able to function and, get money the way we are. Whether we work in a job, we got our own businesses. You know what I mean? It's a real blessing to brothers and sisters. And I'm not saying that everybody in jail are righteous or innocent or anything of that nature. It's a lot of wicked people who in prison who deserve to be in prison. I'm not talking about them. But what I am saying, you know, if we can set our bread aside, some of our bread, at some point in time of our life to help those who are in prison. All right, we got loved ones that's in jail. I ain't heard from your family members and the ones who you thought loved you in I don't know how long. All right, and if definitely if we claiming to be the salt of the earth, the light, you know what I mean, Israelites and all this, if we claiming to walk with the Most High and be believers, then we supposed to be an expression of love in the earth right now, on that level as well. Our works and love supposed to go into that prison house too, not just on the street, not just among ourselves when we congregate, not just over the Facebook, IG, YouTube, and every other social media platform. All right, but continuing on. Verse 12 says, Then came also publicans to be baptized, and said unto him, Master, what shall we do? And he said unto them, Exact no more than that which is appointed you. And the soldiers likewise demanded of him, saying, And what shall we do? And he said unto them, Do violence to no man, neither accuse any falsely, and be content with your wages. So checkmate for anybody who has, any police officers that's viewing, or who will view this, any magistrates and judges or lawyers who will view this, and anybody who has the occupation. He said, don't accuse any false. So a lot of the people in prison, they in prison because the police was crooked. The judge was crooked. He was paid off. He was a racist. He was a unrighteous person or she. All right, so we got those people, they gonna be judged for their position. The sheriff and the bailiff, if you mistreating the prisoners like that, you gonna be judged behind that too. The lawyers who sell these people out, they done hired you as a lawyer and you swap them out for a deal. You give them you don't put forth every effort. You left out the laws in your study and research that you know you could have presented to the court, that person will be free. But instead you sold them out. All right, verse 15. And as the people were in expectation and all men mused in their hearts of John, whether he were Christ or not, John answered, saying unto them all, said unto them all, I indeed baptize you with water, but one mightier than I cometh, the latchet of whose shoes I am not worthy to unloose. He shall baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor, and will gather the wheat into his garner, but the chaff he will burn with fire unquenchable. This is going to come up again within this message. All right, so a separation of the two types. Verse 18, and many other things in his exhortation preached he unto the people. But Herod the Tetrarch, being reproved by him for Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, and for all the evils which Herod had done, added yet this above all, that he shut up John in prison. So look at that. This same John, you know what I mean, who was to precede the coming of Christ, to prepare the way for the Messiah, because he spoke truth, he was put in jail or in prison. All right, so let's get a little information, go in further detail of why he was put in prison. Because it mentioned that Herod the Tetrarch, being reproved by him for Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, for all the evil which Herod had done. That's why he went in jail. All right, so let's get some more of it though. Let's see, y'all. Let's go to Matthew 14. More detail on it. More detail on this subject matter. So we got to understand, like, you know, when we standing for righteousness, a part of that, a part of the possibilities is prison. So when you hear about brothers and, you know, standing on these corners or going throughout the highways and hedges, preaching the gospel and teaching the gospel, according to the Father, you know, it's according to the Most High, being led by the Holy Spirit, these folks, they risking their lives and freedom when they do that. It's a possibility that the police could come up and want to put them in jail. behind what they're saying. All right? Matthew 14, though. Matthew 14, I'm going to start with verse 1. It says, at that time Herod, or Herod, the Tetrarch, heard of the fame of the Messiah, and said unto his servants, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John, and bound him, and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. Verse 4. For John said unto him, it is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. All right, we're going to come back to this, but John told him it's not lawful. So he getting some information from the instructions. He getting some information from the Torah. He telling this man, what you doing, that's not right. That's you, according to the Most High. So what law was there? Let's go to Leviticus. Hold Matthew 14. Let's go to Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 18. That's where we're going. Leviticus chapter 18. Leviticus chapter 18. To hit it on the head, we're going to get verse 16. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 16. Which reads, it says, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. All right, so we might need further understanding on this. So let's go even further. Let's get Leviticus 20, verse 21. It said, don't uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is your nakedness. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 21. Which reads, and if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. He hath uncovered his brother's nakedness. They shall be childless. So it's not lawful for that man to have or marry his brother's wife. That's not lawful. You're not supposed to do that. And this conviction was given or brought to Herod or Herod by John, and because he spoke that truth, Herod put him in jail, put him in prison. Now we're back in Matthew 14. So that was the law that John was telling him about. Like, you can't marry your brother's wife. All right, his brother's still alive at this time. All right, so Matthew 14, verse 4 again says, for John said unto him, it is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given her. And he sent and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it and went and told the Messiah. So John is in prison. And for him speaking that truth, you know, Herod had to honor this oath that he made to his brother's wife's daughter, his niece. And the mother gave instruction to the daughter to say, well, you know what, since he said he'll give you whatever, hey, go cut John's head off. She's still mad about the fact that he brought truth to her. She's still upset about John telling about the law, speaking what's right. But he's in prison. So again, I'm going to continuously reiterate. Some feel like that the ones in prison many of them, the Most High ain't dealing with them, or they there because the Most High brought judgment to them. That's not the case all the time, family. Some of these people in prison because they spoke truth. It said the devil gonna cast y'all into there. So meaning that, listen, the enemy will try to get you in jail to stop the works. All right, but if we free, let us go harder, man, because that's another thing. You know, without going too far into his information, but the brother making righteous, upright music from a jail cell. Whole CDs, whole albums now, from prison. So that means like you got people who still behind their wall on the other side of their glass who have a heart for the Most High. Let us not forget them. Remember the prisoners. All right, let's go to Mark 6. Mark chapter 6. Further detail. Mark chapter 6, verse 14. Add additional detail to the subject matter dealing with John being in prison. All right, Mark chapter 6, verse 14. Mark chapter 6, verse 14 says, and King Herod heard of him, for his name was spread abroad, and he said that John the Baptist was risen from the dead. And therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. Others said that it is Elias, and others said that it is a prophet, or as one of the prophets. But when Herod heard thereof, he said, it is John whom I beheaded. He is risen from the dead. So this beyond this. Now, he didn't already cut his head off. So Herod, like, man, they heard about the Messiah. Like, man, John did resurrected. Verse 17, for Herod himself had sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. All right, so I want to get the detail to explain what it means. It's not lawful to have your brother's wife, for you to marry your brother's wife. It says, for John had said unto Herod, it is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife, which is nasty. Therefore Herodias had a quarrel against him and would have killed him, but she could not. Now we're going into the detail of this woman, Herodias, having this vendetta against John. Says she would have killed him. Verse 20, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just man and holy, and observed him. And when he heard him, he did many things and heard him gladly. And when a convenient day was come, that Herod on his birthday made a supper to his lords, high captains, and chief estates of Galilee. And when the daughter of the said Herodias came in and danced, and pleased Herod and them that sat with him, the king said unto the damsel, ask of me whatsoever thou wilt, and I will give it thee. And he swore unto her, whatsoever thou shalt ask of me, I will give it thee, unto the half of my kingdom. So this is that oath that he had between them. Verse 24, and she went forth and said unto her mother, what shall I ask? And she said, the head of John the Baptist. All right, so remember from what we read in Matthew, how it said she was before instructed. She had already been given these instructions by her mama before the beheading of John. All right. And she came in straightway with haste unto the king and asked, saying, I will that thou give me by and by in a charger the head of John the Baptist. And the king was exceeding sorry, yet for his oath's sake, and for their sakes which sat with him, he would not reject her. And immediately the king sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in the prison. Some of us gonna have to suffer that same fate. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it out of Revelation. Some of us gonna suffer the same fate of being beheaded for truth. All right, and brought his head in a charger and gave it to the damsel, and the damsel gave it to her mother. And when his disciples heard of it, they came and took up his corpse and laid it in a tomb. All right, let's go to Revelation 6 now. On the subject matter of being beheaded. So even those who may be in prison who will see this, because they got, time is changing and increasing, they got access to technology in there too. So the brothers and sisters who may see this, or if you know any of them, you know, you go visit them, you know, they can know. Remind them as well that even in their jail cell, the Most High lives. And even in that jail cell, we still have to give account. Hold fast to the faith no matter where we get. Even on that subject matter, matter of fact, yeah, send the prayers up. Send the prayers up for Kakam, man. You know, he's in a cell right now. He's dealing with some time. Yeah, send him up for Kakam support visit. You know, check out, reach out to Shadiah wife, you know him. Or go to that, you know, his YouTube channel. He got a video on there where at the end, he got the information to be able to contact Kakam's wife if you want to help with it, if you want to help him out. Our Revelation 6, right? Verse 8. Revelation 6, I'm going to hit verse 7 first. It says, when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of the Most High, and for the testimony which they held. So you got those who were slain, not just for any old reason, but for the testimony of the Most High, for standing for righteousness. All right, so we talking about some of us will be killed for the sake of truth, for the sake of the gospel, for the sake of being obedient to the Most High. Verse 10, it says, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, unto their fellow servants also, and their brethren, that should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. All right, so these other brothers, these other sisters, they supposed to be killed as well. So let's get some more detail on that. Let's go to Revelation 20. All right, because I want to confirm the fact of being beheaded. Revelation 20. Revelation 20. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to hit verse 1. Revelation 20, starting with verse 1. And it reads, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. Verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of the Messiah, and for the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads, or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. All right, so, and let me get verse 5. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. All right, so we seeing right here, family, that those people, they got beheaded. All right, and it's a prophecy to come as well, saying that some of us gonna be beheaded. All right, we just confirming it from the fact that John the Baptist was in prison and he got beheaded. All right, let's go to Jeremiah. Let's get some out the OT. Let's see that any of the prophets get in prison? And did they go to jail? So, Jeremiah 37. The book of Jeremiah, bless you. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 37. I did another perspective on the fact too, that I want to get covered within this message. You know, some of the people in prison feel like, you know, prison is not something that the Father ordained or even chose to be a form of punishment for people. So Father, when we're going to cover that after this. Jeremiah 37, verse 1 where I'm starting. We're going to get the full chapter. You good? You need something? Okay, I'll let you know. Jeremiah 37 says, and King Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, reigned instead of Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, made king in the land of Judah. But neither he, nor his servants, nor the people of the land did hearken unto the words of the Most High, which he spake by the prophet Jeremiah. And Zedekiah the king sent Jehukal, the son of Shelemiah, and Zephaniah the son of Maaseiah, the priest, to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, pray now unto the Most High our power for us. Now Jeremiah came in and went out among the people, for they had not put him into prison. Then Pharaoh's army was come forth out of Egypt. And when the Chaldeans that besieged Jerusalem heard tidings of them, they departed from Jerusalem. Then came the word of the Most High unto the prophet Jeremiah, saying, thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, thus shall ye say to the king of Judah, that sent you unto me to inquire of me. Behold, Pharaoh's army, which is come forth to help you, shall return to Egypt into their own land. And the Chaldeans shall come again in a fight against this city, and take it and burn it with fire. Thus saith the Most High, deceive not yourselves, saying, the Chaldeans shall surely depart from us, for they shall not depart. So the Most High delivered word to the prophet to render to the king, to give him instruction on what to do and what's about to happen. Verse 10, for though ye had smitten the whole army of the Chaldeans that fight against you, and there remained but wounded men among them, yet should they rise up every man in his tent and burn this city with fire. And it came to pass that when the army of the Chaldeans was broken up from Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, then Jeremiah went forth out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin, to separate himself thence in the midst of the people. So the prophecy is inevitable, is what he's telling them. Even if y'all went to war and there was just a few of them that remained that was wounded, even if free, they're going to get up and burn the city down, because it's ordained by the Most High. Verse 13, and when he was in the gate of Benjamin, a captain of the ward was there, whose name was Irijah, the son of Shelemiah, the son of Hananiah, and he took Jeremiah the prophet, saying, thou fallest away to the Chaldeans. Then said Jeremiah, it is false. I fall not away to the Chaldeans. But he hearkened not to him. So Irijah took Jeremiah and brought him to the princes. Wherefore the princes were wroth with Jeremiah, and smote him, and put him in prison, in the house of Jonathan the scribe, for they had made that the prison. So because he spoke the word of the Most High, and he had a mind to avoid what was coming, they falsely accused him and put him in prison. Verse 16, when Jeremiah was entered into the dungeon and into the cabins, and Jeremiah had remained there many days, then Zedekiah the king sent and took him out. And the king asked him secretly in his house and said, is there any word from the Most High? And Jeremiah said, there is. For, said he, thou shalt be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon. Moreover, Jeremiah said unto King Zedekiah, what have I offended against thee, or against thy servants, or against these people, that ye have put me in prison? Where are now your prophets which prophesied unto you, saying, the king of Babylon shall not come against you, nor against this land? Therefore hear now, I pray thee, O my Lord the king, let my supplication, I pray thee, be accepted before thee, that thou cause me not to return to the house of Jonathan the scribe, lest I die there. Then Zedekiah the king commanded that they should commit Jeremiah into the court of the prison, and that they should give him daily a piece of bread out of the baker's street, until all the bread in the city was spent. Thus Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. So yet again, we seen that the prophet went to prison. The prophet was imprisoned because of the words of his mouth. All right, so let us remember these prisons. And even today and right now, is prophets in prison and prophetesses in the prison system, not knowing who they are. Hold it. Let's go to Isaiah 42 on that notion. Isaiah 42, verse 22. All right, and we understand that the book say, the adversary frame of mischief by law. So it's certain laws that's put in place that's actually directed and targeting Israelites to be imprisoned. All right, and then we go into the prison, there's separation from the congregation. There's another soldier and warrior of the Most High who we can't really use like we want to use. And not use as in manipulate, but use it, to benefit from for our salvation. Imagine the gifts of the brothers and sisters that's in prison that can't express them the way that we can, as we are free as we are, on the level that we are. Imagine how many visionaries are in there. Imagine how many people, who the wisdom and knowledge and understanding is stored up in these prison houses within those people. We need them too. Isaiah 42 verse 22, it says, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey and none delivereth, for a spoil and none save restore. And this is why we're going over this message today too. Neglecting those that's in prison. The Most High said, don't nobody care about the prison. Ain't nobody saying restore these folks out of these jail cells. Don't nobody got a care or concern for them. I do. It's others that do, but it's not spoken or mentioned or talked about enough. Remember the prisoners. All right, let's go to Psalm on that note. Let's go to Psalm, the 102nd Psalm. Psalm 102. Which if you read Jeremiah 38, you're going to see that they moved them from the prison to the dungeon, trying to kill them. Saying that to say we got family who, they didn't went into the jail system, they was in the city, and then they got shipped off. Lost in the system. Imagine how they feel, being far removed from where you from. Remember the prisoners. The Most High remember them. And if we say that we the children of the Most High, we need to remember like he said. 102, Psalm 102, verse 16. It says, when the Most High shall build up Zion, he shall appear in his glory. He will regard the prayer of the destitute and not despise their prayer. This shall be written for the generation to come, and the people which shall be created shall praise the Most High. For he hath looked down from the height of his sanctuary, from heaven, did the Most High behold the earth, to hear the groaning of the prisoner, to loose those that are appointed to death, to declare the name of the Most High in Zion and his praise in Jerusalem. So it said, way from the heights of heaven, the Most High from his throne, he had an ear for the groaning of the prisoners. So he concerned with them. He got a concern with them. All right, so let us take on that same attribute as the Father. Now, I'm not saying because within it, let us not be foolish to know that, you know, you do have some in prison who they go to jail and then they become these good people for the time period of being in jail because they're in bonds. But then when they get out and they on the street, it's back to the same thing. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not talking about those temporarily righteous ones. I'm talking about the ones who are sincere. The ones who have made a true transformation. The ones who do have a sincere heart for the Most High. Win, lose, or draw. Free or in bonds. Let us not forget them. All right, let's go to Genesis 39. Let me get another example from the OT. Another example. Which we got other, you know, other heroes, as I'm going to call them. Daniel was put in prison, or the lion's den. All right, because he chose to pray to the Most High when a decree was put in place specifically for him. Like I mentioned earlier, a frame of mischief by law. These other governors was envious of Daniel. And they said, well, the only way that we're about to catch him up or bring any type of thing against him to destroy him, it got to be in relation to him and his worship of his God. So they went to the king and said, hey, listen, let's put a decree in order that no man for a certain amount of days can pray to any God, make any petition to any God or any king, but you. Only can they come to the king. And it said when Daniel knew, so he knew what was up. He knew what was at risk. Said when he knew, he went and prayed. He faced Jerusalem and prayed 3 times, knowing he was risking his life and freedom. And from that, they put him in the den of lions. All right, but Genesis 39. Let's start with 1. It says, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Most High was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man. And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Most High was with him, and that the Most High made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had, he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Most High blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. Pause. Why is that important? What type of wisdom can we dig out of that verse? The country itself, it has been prospering off the imprisonment of Israelites for centuries. This is why within the amendment, the 13th Amendment, if I'm not mistaken, it says slavery is abolished in America, except for the fact if a person is convicted of a crime and put into prison. Meaning that if you get convicted, then by law, they're saying, well, you can become a slave again in 2023. All right, so but this is why they come up with the search and seize law, search and seize, where they randomly come up on in the neighborhoods of the minorities, these Israelites purposely to just hop up out on them and search them, you know, and end up taking them to jail because they want to get so many of them in jail and off the street because there's another warrior that's bound behind the wall. Let us not forget the fact of what we're talking about. They got the puppets, your celebrities. You know, I'm gonna use the rappers in the main point of this scenario. They got the rappers, and you cannot have creative control in your contract, which means you can only rap about what the label approves of. And a lot of these rappers are rapping about crime. They're rapping about things that's going to send a person to prison. So they use this puppet and put them on a big platform to reach as many souls as possible, mainly the young. Not everybody going to be moved by the message. But some actually take those words of the rappers in and they go out and they do crime. The label, let's say this rapper goes double platinum off the song. So the label that made money off the rap, accumulated money from that end, from this rapper, millions. But then he also accumulated money because the label got investments in the private prisons. To now the people that listen to that rapper, who go to prison, they get paid off them too. It's a dirty, filthy, wicked game. All right, but Genesis 39, verse 5, and it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Most High blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Most High was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused, and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Most High? And it came to pass that she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. So this woman trying to get him to sin. He said, no, I'm going to hold the uprightness. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought in Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until the Lord came home, until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. So she didn't lie to her husband. Flip the whole story around, and this goes on every day. This goes on every day. This was happening with a lot of these people that's going to prison. Innocent person, the police pull up, lying on them to meet quota. Purposely trying to imprison people to make their status and rank be good within the academy. Within the precinct. All right. Let's see. Verse 20 says, and Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Most High was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Most High was with him, and that which he did, the Most High made it to prosper. All right, so showing you that even Joseph went to jail. Joseph was in prison. All right, as we went over, Jeremiah was put into prison. We seen Daniel going to the lion's den. We seen the 3 Hebrew boys, Mishael, Azariah, and Hananiah. They got put into the furnace, which is a form of, imprisonment. We read in Revelation, I said, because you standing for the Most High, the devil gonna carry some of us in prison. We read in Psalm 102 where it said the Most High heard the groaning of the prisoners. Remember the prisoners, man. All right, let's go to Ezra 7 though. So on this subject matter I mentioned earlier, you want to read this page? Ezra 7. Go to Ezra 7. Where some of the prisoners would feel like, well, you know, prison is so horrible. This can't be something that the Most High set in place. All right, so we're gonna deal with it from a point of without partiality. Bless you. But if the Father has the mindset to say, well, I have a place for souls to go for punishment who didn't obey me, and I have a place for souls to go who did obey me, he also gave the ingenuity to mankind to also create those things too. Ezra chapter 7. You're going to start with verse 25. You got to come on closer. Ezra chapter 7, verse 25.
And thou Ezra,
Read louder.
and thou Ezra, after the wisdom of thy God, that is thine hand set, magistrates and judges may be judged,
which may judge
all the people that are beyond the river, all such as know the law of thy God, and teach them that know them not.
Verse 26.
And whosoever will not do the law of thy God and the law of the king, let judgment be executed speedily upon him, whenever it be whether it be unto death, or into banishment, or to
confiscation
of goods, or to imprisonment.
All right, or to imprisonment. All right, the water, thank you. All right, so within this, we seeing the different types of judgment that can come about for a person not following the laws of the Most High. And this was put into the mind of the king at that time to give unto Ezra. He said, if these people don't want to obey the Most High, he was inspired by the Most High, then let imprisonment be a part of one of the judgments that come about for disobeying. All right, so some of the people that's in prison, again, remember these prisoners. Some of these people in prison because they supposed to be. They made those decisions. They were wicked men. They are wicked. Talking about like Barabbas. Yeah, so not everybody's innocent. Not everybody's actually working on themselves. You know, nonetheless, so we want to get that to bring clarity to the fact of, you know, imprisonment is a part of what the Most High has instructed. All right, let's go to Matthew 5 though. Matthew 5. Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. Verse 25, we're going to start it. Let's see what we got. Let's see. Indeed. Matthew chapter 5, verse 25 reads, agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. So here we've been instructed by the Messiah to use wisdom. In certain cases, wisdom goes out the window because a person wants to be right, or they want. He said, well, sometimes you got to be able to say, you right. Agree to disagree. You got it. I'm going to let you have it. And therefore, keeping and saving ourselves from having to go into a case where we go before the judge give us over to the officer, and the officer put us in prison. Example, something that goes on a lot of times. You got issues within the home. Husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, brother and sister, whoever, they get to arguing. And the situation could have been diffused by just, okay, I'll let you go, man, you have it. But instead, they continuously contend, and it turned to a situation where now the police got to get involved. Police get involved, now you going to court, now you getting a judgment sentence, and now you in jail because in the argument or in the heated moment, we didn't think about saying, I'm going to let them go. Instead of just agree, you got it, you can have it. Agreeing with your adversary. All right? Verse 26 says, verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. All right, so we're talking about the payments and the fact that the jail system does get paid off the numbers. You become a number behind that wall. You're not recognized as a hermit. You're a number. And the state gets paid off every prisoner. This is why they want to pack the prison houses with people. It's a business. Matthew 25. Now this right here, if you ain't been want to tune in or hear nothing, this right here is one of the main points I want to drive. One of the most important parts of today's message. Remember the prisoners. Matthew 25, verse 31. Let's see, do I want to do that? Yeah. Matthew 25, verse 31 says, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. All right, so and notice that the state of the world now, the term of people being goats. Oh, this the goat. And I know they say it stands for an acronym, greatest of all time, but if we're looking at it spiritually, that's what it's boiling down to. Either you a sheep or you a goat. And if you're a goat, that lines up with the scapegoat who the sin was placed on, Azazel and an adversary. All right, and those people, you're going to see what happens to them within this passage. But the sheep, as he said, my sheep know my voice. As he told Peter, I feed my sheep. All right, so we the sheep of his power. We want to be those accounted for as his flock. All right. Verse 35 says, for I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. So these brothers, these sisters, they actually have visitation hours. They right up the street. You actually got access to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, remember them. He said, go see them. And this is a part of he telling these sheep, like, look, man, y'all come on into the kingdom, man. Y'all blessed of my Father, because these are some of the things that y'all did. Y'all fed the people that was hungry. Gave them beverage when they was thirsty. Gave them clothes because they didn't have none. They was sick and you came and visited them in the hospital. We got to do that work too. We got relatives and loved ones that's in the hospital right now. And every time, this is what I had to learn in my time period of practicing it. When you go see somebody they've been in this hospital all day. They've been admitted for days and weeks and some months at times. Hospitalized. Man, that give them a refreshment of strength. They're like, man, somebody care. And it inspires in them to fight even more when they dealing with a sickness. But if ain't nobody coming to see them, then it's like, man, don't nobody care. It says, sorrow have slain many. So that person becomes sorrowful, like, man, don't nobody come see me in this hospital. Don't nobody care about the fact that I'm sick. I know they know. So they start going down It becomes easier for them to throw in the towel. Next thing you know, they such and such, they went into a coma, we got to pull the plug. Or straight up, hey, listen, we sorry to call you about this, but you need to get up here to the hospital because such and such is deceased. All right, and likewise, we talking about in the jail system, man. It gives a brother or sister inspiration to say, man, somebody out there thinking about me. Don't forget that we, in a sense, we prisoners. We supposed to be prisoners to the Messiah, prisoners in the faith. And again, like I'm saying, I'm gonna reiterate again. Or some will get to the point where we feel like, well, I can't deal with nobody in prison because they not righteous. So in other words, you can't have no mercy or grace for them. But you yourself is a prisoner of the faith, and then you mess up and make a mistake, same way they did. Their mistake led them to a jail cell. Your mistake led you to a divorce. Their mistake led them to a jail cell. Your mistake led to something else. And you want mercy for yourself, but you can't have it for the next person. All right, but on the latter end of this verse, it said, I was in prison and ye came unto me. Meaning we went to visit these people. Remember the prisoner. It says, then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when saw we thee hungered and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. So when we going with the mindset, man, I'm doing this for the glory of the Father. I'm doing this to glorify, the one who created all things. I'm doing it in the vein of the Messiah. And that put on account for righteousness. That's what we want. So when we do it, when you feeding that homeless person, you visiting that person in the hospital, you visiting and showing love to the one that's behind that wall. The Most High looking at that like, man, okay, if he can do it to his brother who he's seen, he loved me too. She loved me too. It's like you did it to the Father or for the Father. All right, but on contrary to that, what does it say? Verse 41. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, the goats, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hunger, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, same thing now. Hold up, what you mean? We didn't do these things. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee in hunger, or thirst, or strange, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. So look at that as it's not a coincidence that the Messiah he allowed it to be written. Remember the prisoner. Said, you didn't come visit me in jail. You didn't send me no kite. You didn't put nothing on my commissary. You didn't put no money on my phone so I can make calls. I had visitation days and times, and you still didn't come. Some of you even told them that you was going to do it and never did it. But imagine if that was you. Put yourself in their shoe. Love your neighbor as yourself. And again, this is aside from the fact of some who, I'm not talking about the people that continuously want to be in prison, who always they don't listen, or the wicked who like that actually is a judgment from the Father on them. I'm not talking about them. He said those wicked ones, the goats, he's going to send them into everlasting fire behind them. All right, let's go to Acts 12. We're getting ready to close out. Acts chapter 12. So we've seen in the Old Testament some of the ancestors, going to prison. Let us not forget the fact about the Messiah, him being held captive. Him took it to the judgment hall. And him put on the stand and having to get questioned and inquisition made of him. Then judgment rendered where he had to hang on that rugged cross. That's a part of the court system too. Acts 12 verse 1. It says, now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, this wicked Herod. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of the soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. So don't get thrown out by the Easter. We understand and know that this is supposed to be Pashka or Passover. All right, don't forget that in the verse prior it said the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We know that Passover comes and then unleavened bread. That's what it's talking about. Verse 5 said, Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto the Most High for him. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison. And behold, the angel of the Most High came upon him, and a light shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, arise up quickly. And his chains fell off him from his hand. So we seeing the Most High still can deal with people from the jail cell, from the prison house. So much so that angel ain't going to go unless it's permitted or decreed from the Father. All right, verse 8. And the angel said unto him, gird thyself and bind on thy sandals. And so he did. And he saith unto him, cast thy garment about thee and follow me. And he went out and followed him, and wist not that it was true, which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. Let me see if I want more of it. That's pretty much all I'm extracting. You can finish reading it yourself, though. But showing you that Peter went to prison. Peter was in prison. All right, let's go to Acts 16. And we're going here to show that before the time of the Messiah, people were going to prison. The Messiah himself, he was in prison. He gave us instruction on how to deal with the prisoners. The Most High 102 had the heart to hear the groaning of these prisoners. They still mention. All right, and then even after the ascension of Christ, or the Messiah, we're going to see that these apostles, they went to prison too. They went into prison. And the prophecy to come, like what we read, Revelation 6, Revelation 20, Revelation 2, about us being cast into prison. Acts 16, verse 16, the one starting. It says, and it came to pass as he went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed with a spirit of divination met us, which brought her masters much gain by soothsaying. The same followed Paul and us in Christ, and these men are the servants of the Most High God, which show unto us the way of salvation. And this did she many days. But Paul, being grieved, turned and said to the spirit, I command thee in the name of the Messiah to come out of her. And he came out the same hour. And when her masters saw that the hope of their gains was gone, they caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers, and brought them to the magistrates, saying, these men being Jews, do exceedingly trouble our city, and teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans. And the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrates rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely, who, having received such a charge, thrust them into the inner prison and made their feet fast in the stocks. Hurry up and put them in. Verse 25, and at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto the Most High, and the prisoners heard them. So any of the brothers and sisters that look on who's in their jail cell, even in their jail cell, it's some right now who facing some time, like they got a set day to go to jail. And if that is you, remember, even in that jail, man, praise the Most High, sing praise. Be a vessel for him even behind the wall. All right. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened and everyone's bands were loosed. And the keeper of the prison, awaking out of his sleep and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, do thyself no harm, for we are all here. Then he called for a light and sprang in and came trembling and fell down before Paul and Silas and brought them out and said, sirs, what must I do to be saved? And they said, believe on the Master Yeshua Mashiach, and thou shalt be saved and thy house. And they spake unto him the word of the Master unto all that were in his house. And he took them the same hour of the night and washed their stripes and was baptized, he and all his straightway. All right, so showing you even here, family, that Paul and Silas went to prison behind good works. You know what I mean? So the time that people go to prison is not always because they're guilty. It's not always because this person deserved to be in their jail cell. Sometimes this is the way that the Most High instructed some of us. This is the path he chose. I need you to go to jail to witness to these people that's in jail. You know what I'm saying? But in other cases, we done made decisions and it was a mistake. Remember the prisoners. It's a whole different life, a whole different realm. From the time some people, you don't really get to see the sunshine or sunset. Understand that we got that freedom to move about. We can go to the store. You know what I'm saying? We can play and with our children and, you know, see our siblings and parents and friends, and even on a level to be able to see your enemy. To be able to get away from them. But what about the ones who, like I said, they behind the wall and it's set up to where if they catch them in the hallway, they gonna shank them. Ain't no guns in jail. So when it go down in a major way where blood got to be shed, I done heard many people say they rather be shot than stabbed. But in there, that's the way they going. You getting stabbed with something. Remember the prisoners. Always praying for them. All right. So that's pretty much all I got for today, family. We'll go back through these comments. Y'all got any questions, comments, and concerns? Any questions, comments, and concerns? Kanisha, Shabbat Shalom, First Israelite Sweetness, Noah Yoshua, Isaiah, Grateful Goddess, Isaru Ramonto, Jerry Hall, Shabbat Shalom, Sister Weezy, Keanu, Arkawak Benaya, Yasharala, peace and blessings to you. Dre P, 8777. Allah Yahaisa, Shemay Israel, peace and bless to you as well. Trayola, Shalom. Cold Rain in Hebrew, hey, Shalom, Saint. Bless you. Let's see, trying to get out, y'all. Agrin Tinsley, all praise to the Most High, Shalom. Yehukanan, Shalom, Saint. Talmi, Helkiah, and Shalom, Shalom. Aliyasha, it's a lot of Hebrews in Memphis. But like other city, what I come to find there's always separation in every city. Because there's a lot of Hebrews in one location, that they all congregate. Rashad Stocks, Shalom. Questions, comments, or concerns before we close out? All right, if there's none, then again, the call to action, the thing that I'm intending to do is for us to remember the prisoners. Look out for them as much as we can. Don't be a fool. Like I said, I know you got some, they got, women who they conversate with because they in prison and all this other stuff. I'm not talking about in those situations, but as much as you can, being led by the Most High. Man, look out for the prisoners, man. Remember the prisoners. Other than that, if you think anything else, questions and all, hey, shoot it to Children of the Prophets 144@gmail.com. Children of the Prophets 144@gmail.com. All praise to the Most High. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I pray the word was edifying. Bless y'all. All praises, Moscow. When there is no questions needed to be asked, that means your lesson was good. All praises. All right, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day, y'all Sabbath. Until the next time, Shalom.